lines drawn.
Let the kids be kids.
On one side of this sleepy Melbourne street, anti-drag protesters.
It's not about bigotry, phobia. It's not about the appropriateness of drag queens in general. It's just about drag performers performing to children. It's a child safety, child protection issue. That's what it's about.
On the other, rainbow-clad counter-protesters.
It's a little noisy. I think they don't understand. They're frightened of things that they shouldn't be frightened of.
It's 2023. I don't understand why we're still having to fight.
They are the ones that are threatening our children.
At the centre of it all,
I'm the fabulously furry Frock Hudson.
who, after a quick story time at the local library, was whisked away to safety.
I have been harassed online like you wouldn't believe, with multiple tweets, multiple private messages, multiple emails. I've kind of just stopped looking at it, if I'm going to be really frank. It's been really awful.
Similar scenes have been playing out across the country in recent months in what's been dubbed drag panic, a contagion imported from America.
The victimization of children is demonic.
The hate and ridiculousness that's happening overseas is trying to happen here. And when we've seen drag bills and things happen in America, that energy and anger that people are seeing online has hit our shores.
The trend has seen a spike in LGBTQI calls to mental health services.
As queer people, hate is not a new experience for us. And suddenly now there's this hate campaign, and this brings on a lot of feelings that we feel all the time.
Just this week, more events were cancelled in New South Wales and Victoria, where the situation is so dire, councils are meeting tomorrow to work out what to do about the far-right fringe groups driving this issue.
What kind of motivates these groups? What are their key agendas? Just so that mayors have a bit of a deeper understanding of where these groups are coming from when they're in the chamber.
This afternoon, in response, the Victorian government held its own drag story time in the safety of Parliament House.
We all love the monkey bars, and even though we're all a little bit different, we're all still the same, and we're all friends.
Well, Shane Jenek is perhaps better known as his alter ego, Courtney Act sometimes, who he faced backlash last year for doing Play School Storytime. Shane, how much of a toll does this take on you, on your community, seeing so many events cancelled or forced online because of the protests, the threats, the abuse?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, you know, because like Drag Queen Storytime started out because rainbow families wanted somewhere to take their kids to spark the joy of reading and learning and imagination. And so to have these extremist groups and a very small number of people make threats of violence against, you know, libraries and councils is a really disappointing thing. On one hand, we've got people, entertainers, sparking joy and imagination. On the other, we've got people calling for violence and hate.
What was your experience after you did one of these story times on Play School?
Oh, it was so cute. I read a book called The Spectacular Suit and I got so many lovely messages. I mean, Play School Storytime is just adorable. It's a lovely, heartwarming time.
But there was a little bit of blowback after you read that gorgeous story, wasn't there?
I mean, yeah, but I feel like you have to contextualise it, right? Like, one person, maybe one person in real life in the Senate estimates, and like two people on Twitter had something to say, but otherwise everybody was resoundingly lovely. And I think that's also good to keep in mind with what we're seeing right now. We are talking about like some people who number in the tens, sort of spouting all of this hate.
Now, for hundreds of years, we've been entertained by drag without incident. Shakespeare, pantomime, Dame Edda. What do you think's changed?
I think a few things, right? Like people, these hate groups and things sort of form because people are feeling isolated or vulnerable. They might go online looking for community and connection. I mean, particularly during COVID and lockdown, and they take a wrong turn on the internet and they end up sort of with these extremist ideologies, these groups sort of taking advantage of that vulnerability. And I think also visibility of queer people in the media is more than ever. We just had Sydney World Pride, like the rainbows were inescapable. And so there's so much more visibility, but visibility without protection is a trap, which is why we need anti-vilification laws in Australia federally and also in Victoria, South Australia and Western Australia. And we need more leadership. It's International Day Against Homophobia, and today in Parliament House in Victoria, we saw the Premier Dan Andrews have a drag queen story time of his own, not just for him, there was kids and other people there. And I think that's the sort of leadership we need, and I think we need more of it, because if you're quiet, it sort of sends a message that you're condoning the violence and the hate.
Some protesters claim, however, drag Storytime is perhaps pushing gender theory on young kids, that it's not appropriate. What kind of books, then, are read at these things?
I mean, they're the kind of books we all know and love. The Very Hungry Caterpillar, Oh, the Places You'll Go, Mem Fox, like all of these gorgeous kids' books. So I don't really quite understand. I mean, I guess they're saying that a drag queen will confuse kids, but I think a talking mouse is probably more confusing than a drag queen.
Yes.
Shane, you spoke before when you did Storytime on Play School, and you could see the joy in your face. How did the kids respond to you as Courtney Act?
Oh, kids love drag. It's colourful and it's sparkly and it's fun. And I guess I kind of want to take a little moment to send a bit of a message of love to the queer community, to everyone, but specifically to the queer community, because I know these times can be challenging when we're being discussed like this. And I think that I used to have shame about my own identity, but loving somebody of the same gender or expressing your gender differently means that you actually had to step outside the status quo and understand something about yourself independently of what everybody said about you. And that's actually such a strength, that's such a skill. And I think that queer people are here to save the world, to show people that we can think differently about those old and decaying systems, and we can make them better for everybody, for everyone, and celebrate that diversity.
Shane, it's such an important message. Thank you so much once again for spreading it, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you all.